That's 1,000 north, yeah. I'm curious, it's not. I'm curious. I know it's not probably appropriate for discussion today, but has someone acquired this yet? Like, oh, did it? Okay. I wasn't sure. Yeah.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everyone to the March Plan Commission meeting for the town of Fortville. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:32. Ms. Waldron, if you please walk us through roll call.
Sturdivant,
Here.
Clayton, here. Holland,
Here.
McCrate,
Here.
Murphy,
Here.
Bills,
Here.
Fager.
Here. Thank you very much. All right, if everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Again, welcome to the March Plan Commission meeting. Appreciate everybody coming out this evening. Moving right along. To item number 3 on the agenda this evening, approval of the meeting agenda. Adam, are there any changes or modifications, or can we approve as presented?
You may approve as presented.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I would look for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting agenda approved. Number 4, commission to consider approving minutes of the January 2026 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Any changes, modifications needed? Or can we approve as presented?
Just under the government comments, after Joe Renner, it says no utilizes would go through Russell Yard. I think it should be no utilities.
Yeah.
Second page towards the bottom.
Okay. Yep.
All right, Adam, can we capture that and then approve? Or do we need to?
Yeah, I would say we can just do an approved as noted.
Okay.
Motion to approve with the change of the noted comments as presented.
Second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, meeting minutes approved. Thank you very much. Moving into the public hearing section of our meeting this evening, we've got 2 cases before us tonight. First case number RZ01-2026, ordinance number 2026-3C. It appears that this case has been continued to the April meeting. Is that correct, Adam, formally?
Correct.
Okay, we need to make a motion to formally.
Yeah, what happened with that one is the noticing, the public hearing noticing that their attorney was doing, they missed the deadline for one of the elements.
Okay.
So it was partially noticed, but not completely and not correct. So I'd advise on continuing it to the next meeting, and then they can redo all the public hearing noticing again.
Okay. And I guess just for context for folks, in case you did come out for that case, this is the rezone of the 148 acres from the Hancock County Industrial General to planned PUD in the neighborhood of the southeast corner of County Road 1000 North and County Road 400 West. So just a little bit of context there. This will be continued to the next meeting. I would look for a motion to continue to the April Plan Commission meeting.
Make a motion to continue to the next meeting, case number RZ01-2026.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right, thank you very much. Case RZ01-2026 has been continued. unanimously. All right, our second case this evening, case number TA 01-2026, ordinance number 2026-3B. Commission is to consider an amendment to the Mersho SC Bonner PUD modifying the uses, plans, and development standards pertaining to Area B, east side of the planned South Madison Boulevard, south of Broadway Street. Adam is up real quick. Zaklikowski, if you've got the town's presentation, we would appreciate it.
Quick question about the presentation.
Yes, Brittany?
So I was looking at what was sent to us for the staff report. At the top, it is dated March 31st, 2026. However, at the bottom, it says the overall conceptual site plan is from last February. Have there been any changes to this project from when these conceptual site plans were created?
Great question, Brittany. I'll kick that to Adam to address in the staff report. Thank you.
I see 2026.
Yeah, it's down on,
Well, that, okay, yeah.
It's February 25th, so it's been over a month since these conceptual plans were done.
Yeah, that, to answer your question, this is Adam speaking. That was what was submitted as part of the request. So the deadline for submittal for a plan commission item is the first business day of a month. So it was submitted at the beginning of March.
Makes sense.
So it's accurate.
Thank you for the clarification.
Oops. Okay, so again, for the record, I'm Adam Zaklikowski, the Planning and Building Director for the town of Fortville. This item before you tonight, as you mentioned in the reading of the agenda, it's the second amendment to the Mersho SC Bodner PUD. The applicant and the owner of this land is J&I Fortville Land Holdings LLC, and that's care of Curtis Irving and Cole Justice. They're here in the audience tonight with their attorney, Joe Calderon. The location of this area is on the north side of Garden Street, or 1000 North, and it's south of Broadway. It's the east side of the planned South Madison Boulevard. And the zoning on the property is planned unit development, and it's been that way since May of 2024. And this PUD currently allows for multifamily, market rate apartments, and light industrial buildings. The size of the entire PUD is about 38 acres. But tonight we're just focusing in on Area B, which is the focus of this amendment. It's about 17 acres. So again, the east half of the project. In terms of the request before you tonight in the background, Loft Development was originally planning on developing this property. However, as many of you know, their project fell through. SC Bodner Company subsequently purchased the entire Mersho property, the entire 38 acres. But they will be developing the Madison Trace Apartments west of South Madison Boulevard, which is Area A. And then SC Bodner sold the east side of the Mersho property to this developer, J&I Fortville Land Holdings. So both areas are governed by the same PUD. As I mentioned, originally approved in 24. And then amendment number 1 pertaining to Area A was approved last year. So this proposal is to focus on commercial development, retail, restaurants, services in a development called Fortville District rather than predominantly light industrial, again, specific to Area B. So the PUD amendment is to update the vision and accordingly the PUD concept plan, renderings, and development standards. So if we take a look at the aerial, you can see the former Merchot property, the agricultural land that's there right now. And of course, where the star is, that's generally the portion of the property that we're looking at here tonight. If we take a look at the zoning map, you can see again that it's zone planned unit development. And then off to the west, and the south side of Fortville is residential 3.5 areas. To the north is some commercial land. We've got our town hall, and then part of the business park. And then also there's an out parcel. There's a historic home there that is zoned residential 2.5. So if we take a look at the PUD concept plan, the original plan from 2024, you can see the apartments on the west side, and then the two light industrial buildings on the east side in this area B. And then these were the concept elevations in the existing plan for area B from 2024 of what the vision was for the types of buildings to be in that area B property. And then here's the concept site plan. This was amendment number 1 for area A on the west side of the road. So they, as you remember, they made some adjustments with the number of buildings that they have and the types of multifamily units that they have, but this made its way into this updated PUD. And then tonight, part of what you're asked to take a look at is this PUD concept plan. This is what's proposed for area B. We can obviously come back to this as needed. And then here are the PUD concept elevations that are proposed for area B. And then here are some of the concept elevations. So in this rendering provided by the developer, you can see the apartment buildings, of course, on the west side of the property, the Bodner project, and then everything out here would be part of this Fortville district project. So I'll run through quickly some of the major changes between what's been approved and what they're looking to do now. The name of the PUD would change from Merchot SC Bodner PUD to simply Madison Addition PUD. That would match the name of the plat. For the uses and height in this area, originally it was industrial or commercial mixed use and 50 feet max height. In the new version, everything south of Park Street is commercial. Everything north of Park Street would be commercial or potentially industrial. And you'll see in the PUD document that some undesirable uses are restricted out. And then it's a 36-foot max height for the commercial, 50-foot max height for the industrial. In terms of the design in Area B, the original PUD was pretty basic. We had some example photos, of course, but it basically referred to industrial zoning standards for architectural standards that we have on file as part of the zoning ordinance. But here, with this new version, we get into a lot more detail, and what I would say better detail in terms of executing the vision. So depending on the use, they would follow either the commercial or the light industrial zoning standards from the zoning ordinance. And then it goes on to say that for the commercial part of the project, that consistent with the included renderings, masonry which would be brick, brick veneer, stone, split face concrete, masonry units, and glass, shall be the dominant materials of all buildings, and other materials shall only be used as accents. And then for industrial buildings, again, it says consistent with the included renderings, at least 40% masonry shall be used on the front and sides of buildings 2, and at least 25% on the front facade of building 3. In terms of signage in Area B, originally in the PUD, they would simply follow the zoning ordinance standards, but with this proposed amendment, all user monument signage shall feature consistent design with routed aluminum panels with acrylic push-through text and logos, and color text and logos would be allowed. And so that's a much higher level of detail. Very nice signage based on similar projects in Fishers, actually. And then goes on to say that detention ponds, the design in Area B, there's no specific standards, but the language that we have here is that each shall include landscaping and a fountain similar to the exhibit included in the pond. South of Building 1 shall also have a masonry ledge. In terms of remonstrance and comments, all of the public hearing notification requirements have been met. That included the typical mailing to nearby property owners, public hearing sign posted by town staff, and then a legal ad in the Greenfield Reporter. We didn't receive any letters of remonstrance. Certainly we can hear tonight if there's any remonstrance out there. At first reading of the ordinance on March 16th, the town council members appeared supportive of the changes. So as you know it, with a rezone or a rezone amendment of zoning amendment, what we're doing right now is procedurally it goes to the council first for their feedback. Then it goes to you all for your recommendation, the public's comments, and then it would return back to town council for final action one way or the other on the ordinance. So with that, my recommendation would be that you provide a positive recommendation to the Fortville Town Council. And then the next steps on this project, these are tentative, it is subject to change, but the Fortville Town Council for final review and potential approval, second reading of the ordinance would be April 6th at 6:30 p.m. And then should this PUD amendment be approved, more detailed concept plans specific to the site, the landscape, the lighting, and the elevations would need to be approved for each specific project by the Plan Commission before they can file final plans with staff for permitting. So with that, if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to address them. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate that staff report. Any questions for Adam?
I do.
Sure, go ahead, Whitney.
Just a quick clarification. When referring to the detention pond design in Area B, it says each shall include landscaping and a fountain. So that's not or a fountain. It's going to be fountains for every single detention pond in Area B.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have at this moment.
Thank you, Brittany. Adam, quick question. On next steps, you indicate that concept plans, the site landscaping, lighting, elevation would need to be approved by the Plan Commission for each project. But when we look at the overall site, like there are there's an additional proposed driveway coming off of this. Is that to me is not a site specific or specific project approval? Is that something that will come before the Plan Commission, or if we approve the PUD, is that driveway? It just looks kind of close right now, and I think that's something that was kind of mentioned at the outset here, talking about access into the site. Is that something that, because you say project specific?
Yeah, which driveway are you looking at?
On 1000 Garden. And I think the one thing we've
over here.
consistently heard is access across from homes on 1000 North has been a concern from the public. And so I think trying to mitigate access, understanding that the project wants access, we have to find that middle ground, and make sure one, space isn't too close.
Sure.
But I'm getting into the weeds. Taking a step back, is that something that would be approved tonight Or is that something, because the way it's worded, each specific project to me says each outlot that's developed is going to be approved individually and not necessarily the trunk lines?
Yeah, I would say within the PUD ordinance itself, I think there was language that talked about access points. Was there something about that on 1,000 North?
Because when I look at the original concept plan, there was no second access. It was
Okay.
just Madison. And so this would be a
Yeah.
deviation from that
Yes, but
original.
to answer your question, I would say that this PUD amendment would be approving in concept an additional driveway out on 1,000 North.
Right there.
Certainly, it could be adjusted as plans evolve and become more detailed. But to be clear, if, for example, the Plan Commission was really concerned about that access point and didn't want to have any, I would say now would be the time to be clear on it and eliminate it.
Okay.
But I would say, if you take a look at the flow of traffic through the area, in my view, it is a nice north-south driveway that's clear and identifiable rather than zigzagging through parking lots. I suppose potentially the one thing that could be done is maybe right in, right out onto Garden Street if that was a main concern.
Sure. Nope. Yeah, very much appreciate that. Thank you, Adam. Okay, any other questions for Adam at this time?
Just a question. I know they're the concept plan still, but in the old proposed, there was a retention pond on 1,000 West too. So is the setback of the building a lot closer to those homes off of 1,000 North now, like building 8 and 7? Or we keep a good amount of space between? Because that was one of the positives to the old plan, was there was a big pond.
I would say it is closer than what was shown originally, because the location of the ponds do get separated a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, the straight answer is it is closer. Although I would add that certainly if you have a light industrial warehouse, you'd want to get that separated from nearby folks as much as possible. In this case, we take a look at building 8, building 7. Those could be building 8, for example, could be a restaurant. Building 7 could be a restaurant and maybe some service shops. Could be a bank. So, in my professional opinion, I'd be comfortable with the amount of green space and the overall setback, with understanding that the uses have changed.
And then just along those same lines, I see a little bit like on the buildings 2 and 3, it talks about like front and side facades, but will we be able to see what's going to be facing those and have some input for buildings 7 and 8?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll have another bite at the apple when it comes back for more detailed plans.
Okay. Because normally it's like the front facades, but we just want to make sure the sides are.
Right. You'll be able to look
Okay.
at all 4 sides in detail when they come up. So it's just a reminder to everybody, especially the public, is as we go through this process, basically each new element of the process is just building in and adding more detail to the entire project. It just keeps building upon what's already been approved. And then, of course, as part of that procedure, things will be tweaked, modified, but that's why there's some additional oversight with the Plan Commission to review those elements on a project by project basis.
Thank you, Adam. Any other questions for Adam at this time?
Yeah, I do have a couple
Sure.
of questions. Could you elaborate on amendment number 2? Under proposed amendment, undesirable uses restricted out.
Yes. The actual ordinance, I don't think you have a copy in front of you. It was emailed out, but I don't know if you have do you have a hard copy of it?
We don't,
No. There were, if need be, I can print up the actual copy of it, but, and Joe might be able to, he probably has a copy of it. There was a laundry list of different uses that would be prohibited. And I don't want to go off of memory. I'd rather look at what's on the list.
Okay.
And certainly, importantly, is in looking at that list, if there are things that you disagree with, if there are other things that should be prohibited, now's the time to make those recommendations.
Okay. I think you have an additional slide, Adam, that we do not have. It was a kind of a rendering elevation that showed a fountain and a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't see that fountain on the overall site plan.
Yeah, so the two renderings that you see here, these two were provided by the developer today. This one and this one.
That one.
But it more or less matches what's in the text of the PUD and the design.
So is that building 1?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, okay.
This one over here
So that's
would
building
be-
1.
Mhm.
That's what it looks like.
I would,
Yes.
okay.
Looks out.
Yep.
I think my last question is that, so if you stay right there, Adam, the covered storage. Again, I understand these are concept plans. Nothing is set in stone yet, but covered storage, is that a 4-sided structure with doors? Or is that a 3-sided structure with a roof?
I believe it's a 3-sided structure with a roof, but I'll defer to the developer, their attorney, to provide some more information.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks, Chris. Adam, for the design in area B, in reference to the commercial standard that's being adjusted, it references masonry and glass shall be the dominant material. Does that just mean greater than 51%?
Yes, yes, but it is subject to some interpretation.
Okay.
For example, I think originally we looked at putting a hard number to it.
Yeah.
But what I've found over the years with architecture and percentages, I know we have that on the industrial side, but
Right.
It can be tricky to quantify the actual amount of masonry on a building.
Sure.
So the idea is if it's the dominant material, and by the way, it's on all 4 sides of the building. So that is definitely a much greater standard than is in our zoning ordinance right now. So,
And that is something that when they return for plan review before this commit, that would be open to our.
You're exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, you got
Perfect. My only other question, and maybe this is a question for the developer, similar, but for Adam specifically, similar to the question that Adam asked, or that we asked earlier about the South Drive, the ingress egress point between buildings 4 and 5, and then the left turn lane off of South Madison. That just seems to me, and I'm not a roadway engineer, but it seems to me like it's a little bit of a cluster, and I don't have a better way of describing it. I'd love to hear kind of the rationale for that and why we couldn't access those buildings through a single drive or off of the East Park Street.
Yeah, I'll defer to the developer. I would say that.
I guess my question to you is, again, is this the point in time which we need to address that? And if we don't address it tonight, would that be something that would not be addressable at a later date?
I would say if you want to address it now, now's a good time. From a staff perspective, that was somewhat of a concern that
It just seems to me
we
the-
had about the proximity
The
to
traffic
it.
exiting from building 4, turning left onto South Madison, when you have traffic off of South Madison turning left across that to the south. It just seems like an opportunity for a lot of collisions.
Well, the one thing that we thought that could mitigate against that is on this concept rendering, it doesn't show a very deep left turn pocket.
Yeah.
And so depending on the uses that are in there, that left turn pocket maybe need to be extended all the way towards the intersection more. So there's not really a landscape median over there, but rather, probably be a narrow, or if there's just a strip of landscape, and very narrow strip. So, to be honest, at least from a planning perspective, what I kind of liked about the way that they've got this set up right now is it's nice that there's a boulevard as you come into the project. It's a nice welcoming feature, and it's a nice way of splitting up those three buildings that they have there. So I'll concede that the one trade-off could be that it's a little close to the intersection to Park and South Madison.
And is that going to be a signal intersection? Is that a roundabout? It's not like clearly
No.
defined here.
That would be, we'd have a stop sign on Park.
Okay.
I don't think we'd do a four-way stop. I think probably just on Park.
Okay. Thank you.
What would pedestrian facilities look like in along South Madison Boulevard in that area?
Good question.
Well, the PUD called for, I believe it was an 8-foot asphalt path on the west side of the road that the Madison Trace SC Bodnar project will be installing. And then as part of this project, it's not specific right now. We would definitely require a sidewalk as each parcel or outlot develops. And that would probably be whatever our standard is in the thoroughfare plan. I want to say maybe 6 feet, 5-6 feet. But again, to that point is if you had a strong feeling that, I don't know, maybe you want an asphalt path on that side, now would be a good time to make that comment. Otherwise, it would just default to the zoning ordinance.
Which, just to clarify, we will have PED connectivity throughout the project.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
okay.
Yep.
I think that's critical.
Yep, that's required.
Okay, good. Okay, any other questions for Adam?
Would this also get the lighting that we've been doing?
Well, the lighting insofar as all the lighting would have to be full cutoff fixtures. But as part of the next step in the process, you'll get to see the actual light fixtures that they choose. So it'll all be shielded, fully capped, pointed downward.
For clarification, that would be
Real quick on that, just so you're aware, the boulevard will have lighting in the public right of way. And so the plan right now is to do streetlights that match what's on Broadway, but they'll be in the center median, and then they'll branch out. So there'll be one lantern going one way and then one going the other way. So that's what the thought process is right now.
Brittany, you got a clarification?
I was just going to ask that based on the precedent of the lighting on Broadway, would that carry over here? But you guys just addressed it, so thank you.
Okay. All right, any other final questions for Adam? No? Okay, we have time in our agenda for the petitioner. Anyone who's here that would like to represent the petitioner may come to the microphone, say and spell your name and how you represent the case, please. Or if you're on Zoom, here in person. Perfect.
In person.
Wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you, Planning Commission members. Joe Calderon, 11 South Meridian, Indianapolis, representing the developer J&I Fortville Land Holdings. Curtis Irving and Cole Justice principals are here tonight, and they might be able to answer a couple development type questions Dylan Reynolds from Space Co is also here tonight. He's the civil engineer on this site. So we hope, your questions were excellent, by the way. What we're trying to bring forth tonight is an actual real vision for Area B. In 2024, it was pretty generic, to be kind. We did not change the setbacks. So even though the concept plan may have looked like buildings were closer to Garden Street or what have you with the two building industrial product, they also established 50-foot setbacks. We've platted those setbacks. This is already platted, so that's set in stone. That's been recorded. And we did not change the setbacks in our new iteration of the ordinance. What we did do, which we think is good, is provide a lot more detail within the ordinance. And I'm sorry if you don't have that handy, but let me just run through a couple things for you. We put in 20 restricted or prohibited uses into the ordinance. And we've got, I can read it into the record or just incorporate it, but there are items 1 through 20. It includes mini warehouses, self-storage, lumberyard, auto sales, nightclub, greenhouse, lodge or private club, funeral home, agricultural uses, a pretty wide variety that we plucked out of the ordinance to put in. Whereas in the previous ordinance, it was pretty generic as to, there was nothing specifically prohibited. So we've added clarity as to where commercial can go, where industrial can go. Industrial just be limited to that north area. We did add, or reduce, I should say, the height from 50 feet, which was across the board in the old ordinance, to 36 feet for commercial, 50 feet for industrial. And we put in pretty significant additions as to our masonry requirements. We've added our concept exhibits to give you what you're looking for. And it is correct that we do have fountains as features in every detention pond. We are adding a masonry ledge on the main feature, which is by building 1, kind of a gateway to the community as well to the development. So that'll be upgraded. And we think that this is just a way to, from an ordinance standpoint, to provide additional clarity with a real vision versus kind of a industrial concept or afterthought the last go around. As Adam mentioned, my clients already purchased the property. They are in it and they are committed to doing this development. This is not something that, well, oh shoot, the project failed or the developer failed. They're in it and they are in fact ready to get started. The infrastructure's going to be going in later this spring. So you will actually see activity 2 years after last time you took a look at it. We can certainly address concerns that you may have regarding curb cuts. One of the things that we want you to be mindful of, and I know that the concept plan shows multiple opportunities to traverse through the site. It is important to know that this is a multi-building development. And sometimes you don't want everything to funnel into one curb cut off of Madison. You may want a little bit more of a spread out nature just so you're not creating log jams. But those are things that we can discuss tonight if you want to ask my client about that. We did have the extra curb cut on Garden Street because it's basically serving as another spine road since there'll be buildings both on the east side and west side of that. We thought that might be a smarter way of dealing with traffic. However, you have to live here and answer to folks that come to town meetings, and we certainly appreciate that. With that, we appreciate your consideration and ask for your favorable recommendation this evening to the town council. I don't know if Curtis or anybody else wants to step up, or if you had specific questions that you wanted to ask the developer rather than me as their attorney representative.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Questions for the petitioner? I've got just a, and this is probably for either the principals or the civil. When it comes to curb cuts, when it comes to access, whether it's on Madison or Garden, I guess the question is, has a traffic study, traffic impact study, anything of that nature been done at this point? Or are these curb cuts strictly conceptual in nature?
I know the other side has been conducting a traffic study, but that is something we're definitely willing to look into and work together on, because obviously our whole goal in this is to not make this a crowded section along with 67 being crowded. We all want to make this flow along with complementing the services on the other side of the street. So there is, I believe, a traffic study being done. I don't think Dylan Civil. Oh, I don't know if you have any insight on that with traffic study on that area, but go ahead.
Yeah, Dylan Reynolds with
Please.
What's that?
We have someone else online.
Oh.
I think there is somebody. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's currently a complete traffic study for some of the road improvements for the larger infrastructure portion. One that's complete, and there is one underway for the intersection at Garden Street. Not the one on this concept plan, but kind of the one shown in the background. And then, yeah, obviously willing to work with staff on, a future traffic study now that this area B is kind of being fleshed out. It's just, we're finally at that point now where we can understand uses and traffic volume. So yeah, willing to work with staff on if that'll be required and something they want to see.
Sure. And completely understand, access is very beneficial to a site like this. We just want to make sure that it's done appropriately. Whether it's limiting things to right and right out, or that drive that's just south of the curve, maybe that's a left in, right out, because we've got the median. I mean, there's tons of play there. Let's just make sure it looks like a very high quality product. Let's make sure that the traffic flows in and out of it well. Too,
yeah.
right?
I think just to say, and Adam, I think I'm going to reiterate what you said correctly. I think at this point, as far as the design of those access points is not something we're being held to today. It's more of the locations themselves, to reference the PUD plan. So length of left turn lanes, exact locations, those kind of design elements, I don't believe is the intention to approve today. It's just more of, location, is there access allowed to County Road 1000 there? And is there access to South Madison? Not necessarily the actual final design features.
Sure. Right. And I think that access on 1000 is the question, right? That's the change from the previous layout. I know we've heard concerns before from residents that live on 1000. So we'll just need to chew through that tonight. Any other questions for the petitioner?
Yeah, I'm not sure who to direct this question to, but is the plan to develop all of Area B? So all 8, 9 buildings at the same time?
No, it is not. If something were to, so basically we want to get this approved for all the uses complementary to the town of Fortville. And, we are going to be developing the industrial and some retail on the northern section, that closer to House 67. And that southern part, is still in the works of, we have our conceptual renderings and our plans. We just want to allow that to be marketed and allow that to happen. So obviously we're not gonna, overbuild this entire thing and nobody, without any inclination of having it leased out. So 100%.
Can you elaborate on the covered storage?
Yes.
I was gonna.
I don't know if anybody, so basically the idea of that is mainly just complementary to the tenants in the industrial buildings. And so that would be more of a closed kind of, so to even get into that section would probably be gated. And we'll have a 3-sided masonry wall or some sort of structure that's not transparent. And then we'll have just a slanted roof on top. Mainly, that's just covered for if any tenants in the industrial buildings need some extra storage space, premium outdoor storage type deal, that would be completely covered and pushed in the backside. And the reasoning for that area is just because of industrial roads already there. Just makes sense to keep that in the background and kind of have that flow in that area, along with keeping that multifamily feel across the street. So.
And to follow up on that, just to be clear, there would be no exterior storage allowed in that Block A area, correct? It would be exclusive to that covered area.
I believe so.
Thank you.
Any other question for the petitioner at this time?
I don't have a question. I just have a concern that I'd like to bring to your attention and ask for your consideration for it while you guys are addressing multiple items here. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ohio Street, where it intersects Broadway just north of the CVS. It looks like it's pretty much nothing that's there right now, but we have these large neighborhoods that are down Ohio Street, and it's creating a point of conflict there at Ohio and Broadway, and I don't think that was anticipated. We are going to have these massive, well, not massive, but multiple multifamily housing on the south, and I am concerned about the level of service for these roadways during peak hours when people are coming and going. So if we could just get those traffic studies in and analyze them and make sure that we are making this as easy to use as possible for the new tenants and residents in that area. I just like to throw that out there. We do have a lot of concern along 1000 West, West 1000 North, about the way those driveways align to prevent direct lighting and such like that from vehicles turning that would impact the residential houses there. So I think those traffic studies are going to be imperative for figuring out the flow and layout of the final design.
Yeah, we're willing to work on this. I mean, our full intentions were 2 local guys here that honestly, I want my kids to go to this area and drive by. So, and, I come to this community quite a bit. So, we're willing to work with, what's going to be right for this development.
Thank you.
And this is Dylan with Spaceco again. Just to add to that, there is a completed traffic study for South Madison. So
Okay.
that the main road, that kind of splits the multifamily side from the area B that we're talking about, that traffic study has been completed. Not by our firm, but by a different firm, but it has been done.
I think that traffic study, though, probably contemplated industrial on the north side, so trip generation and intensity is probably substantially different. I would guess, right? Because we did not contemplate commercial on that side. So, but we'll work all this out.
Yep.
Yeah. Appreciate the context. Any other questions for the petitioner? Okay. All right, what we will do is we will have time for the public to comment. And then once we've heard all public comment, you'll have a chance to come back up and address any concerns, comments, questions that are heard from the public. So please hang around.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right, now we have time in our agenda for public comment for or against this project. If anybody is here or on Zoom and would like to speak on the case, please come to the microphone or unmute yourself online. Say your name, say and spell your name, please, and your address. Oh.
Hello, everybody. I'm Joel Combs, live at 1839 West 1000 North, JOELCOMBS. Got a couple statements and a question. First off, we were originally happy with the retention pond directly north of 1000, but now with the proposed location of buildings 7 and 8, we're concerned about massive noise and light pollution. Potentially tree lines or ridges or anything that would help alleviate that would be beneficial to us. Our property's located directly across from Building 7 on 1000 North. To Nathan's earlier discussion, yes, we are concerned specifically about the road between Building 7 and 8. Our property will be directly across from the two streams of traffic, which is not ideal for us getting in and out throughout the day. And lastly, are there any restrictions on gas stations? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Get these noted. We'll make sure we get those questions answered.
My name is Michael Kraus. I own the building and Fortville Feeders right next door. And I have no objections to the development. I'm 100% for it. Looks great. But I do need to bring a serious issue to the table. I've been here 35 years in that building. I did not build that building, nor did I make this mess out here. I had nothing to do with it. I inherited it just like the town did. But you got to know that my semis, 80-foot long semi, blocks this road out here. And I block it sometimes. My longest time has been 45 minutes to load a semi and get it out. When I say I block it, I block both lanes coming and going down Industrial Drive. Now, going south, if you come in from 67 and you're going south and I have it blocked, a car can get around the semi. But a semi, neither way can get out until I unblock it. And that's the mess. I'm asking for the traffic study, but I like for them to take it several things further. Once the McDonald's, the filling station, the pizza place, everything's here, and block this road with your residents on the south side trying to get out of this road, it ain't gonna happen very easily without a ugly situation. It already is, but it's not a big problem now because the people that come in all work in this industrial park. They don't work over there, or they're not trying to get out. My request is a simple request, and I think it'll work as good as possible, is to make the short little drive that goes from Industrial Drive back to the tall antenna that's back in the back here. That little drive one way south. So you can get into the new industrial park and to the new apartments, but you can't use it to come out and come back up to 67 and Ohio Street, making that a bigger mess. That's what I'm asking. And I think it's very reasonable, but you need to experience when I block the street. Don't just go out and look at it and think it, well, they can get around it, because they can get around it. And I have no fix. And other than my challenge is the town going to try to condemn my building and my dock by eminent domain? I have no idea today about that. I will be investigating it if I have to go forward and do it. And I'm asking the this council and the town council to answer both questions, because I'm going to be asking the town to give me in writing that my property is grandfathered in. I have heard it that I am. I've had people tell me I am, but I've also had lawyers tell me that when the town wants to come after you, they can come after you. They can do anything they want. And only God can help you at that point. So I got a serious problem. And I'm just asking for, where's it going? That's it. Wish you all the best.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Kraus.
No, I'm just saying thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak on behalf of this case, for or against?
Yes, this is Michael Garvey with SC Bodner. I think I would use the address.
Oh,
Michael, we lost you.
Yeah, I think we lost you.
Carmel. But we were the owner of the entire 38 plus acre tract. So I think everybody's aware. And then we sold this tract to Mr. Irving and his team. During that process, just for the benefit of the group here this evening, we actually worked with Curtis in tandem to create recorded CC&Rs. So there would be some homogeneous orientation to signage, to restrictions. So we had worked through that, and Mr. Calderon addressed that earlier, where we had collectively agreed upon restrictions of uses to the site when we owned it, and then sold it to Mr. Irving. So generally, we're most in favor of this. We think it's incredibly complementary to the apartment complex that we're building. I think this will be a benefit to not only our residents, but also residents of Fortville. So anyway, I just wanted to speak, and I've been listening this evening. Really good questions, really good comments. And if you have any questions for me or our team, I'm here to answer them.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Garvey. Appreciate it. Anybody else that would like to speak for or against this case? We still have time in our agenda. I'll make sure that anybody who would like to speak has the option. Okay. We have time in our agenda for government officials. Anybody in the audience or online representing the town like to speak for or against the case or say anything? Seeing the shaking of the head, no. Okay. We have an opportunity for the petitioner to come back up. If you'd like to respond to any of the questions, I've noted the questions that we heard from the public, and we'd like to give you the opportunity to rebut.
Absolutely.
Or respond.
Not so much a rebuttal for Mr. Coons, our neighbor across 1000 North, but rather just to make sure that he does understand we have to have a buffer yard along the our side of the 1000 frontage. It's on the plat, it's in the ordinance, it's baked in to our plan. So there will be a buffer yard. To present that, I would say as to the traffic, we'll just have to get through the traffic study and see if it makes sense to continue with an additional access cut from 1000 North beyond the main Madison Boulevard. So I think that his questions are fair. And as neighbors already, from the developer standpoint, I think we would like to make sure that we create a development where he and his family feel welcome and not disturbed by the development. Of course, it's during construction, there's always things that are, a little disruptive, but if in fact we're starting north and before moving south, it should be more beneficial to our neighbors to the south. So wanted to stand up and address that. As far as the change to access one way, that'll really be up to the town. We envision Madison as being two-way, obviously, to provide flow, but that I think is more of a town question than a specific developer question.
Yeah, so I think the question was, and I do agree, I think it might be a town question, but the question is on Industrial Drive, not Madison.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to make it one way. So Madison feeds into that. And we had anticipated access coming into Madison being two-way, but so
Okay. So I think we were talking just, I think off of his property. So I don't think this
Yeah.
project will contemplate. I think it's one way south and then you'll obviously have Madison as a two-way road back to Block A and buildings 2 and 3.
Right.
But I tend to agree that I believe that's something probably, Adam, I wanted to bring up to you as that's probably a town action item. One other thing that was noted, maybe you can,
Gas station.
yes.
We only are allowing uses in CC, which I don't think allows for gas stations, if I'm not mistaken, but we can certainly, we don't need that as a use. So if we need to add that because it is permitted in CC, we'll happily do that.
Yeah, I believe it's
100%
permitted,
exemption.
yeah, as a special exception
Yeah.
in CC. So what I would suggest is, based on what Mr. Combs said is, I would just add that to that list
We can.
if you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, we.
So it's clear
prohibit all
they're
special
prohibited.
exception uses anyway, but we'll add it just so
Okay.
that there's no ambiguity.
And then just for clarity, in theory, in the future, a developer, an owner, a gas station owner could still come to the town and ask for a use variance from that, even if it's prohibited. But it's also pretty clear that if something's explicitly prohibited, it's prohibited. So, I would say that'd be the best way of addressing the problem.
And then I've got, oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
We'll happily add that to the ordinance.
You mentioned the buffer yard. Do we know specifically, and I know it's based on development type, just to clarify, because there are a number of different types of buffer yards, it would be good to maybe explain which one is required for this project, just for Mr. Combs' edification.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, in the zoning ordinance, there's 3 types of buffer yards, and it goes from most intense to least intense, based on the 2 uses that are across the street from each other or next to each other. And so, when there's commercial across from residential, I want to say it's a type 1 or a type 2 buffer, which are one of the most restrictive ones. So what they're going to have is trees, a mix of evergreen and deciduous. Then they'll have to have shrubs. What I don't recall off the top of my head is if a mound is required as well. I feel like it is, but don't quote me on that.
The strong screening via natural buffer.
Yeah. I mean, I can look it up while we're waiting if you want to give you an actual concrete answer here.
Okay.
I was just thinking, Adam, that the most restrictive or inclusive of shrubbery, however you want to phrase it, requires like 40 feet. But over along West 1000 North, it looks like there may only be 20 feet setback. So how would that work?
Your ordinance requires the setback and the buffer yard to be separated. In other words, it's buffer yard and setback combined. So it's, I believe, 50 feet total setback, and the first 25 feet of that is buffer yard. I don't have the plat in front of me, but.
Yeah, let's see here. Zoom this out here.
And I would just make a comment that, and we'd asked of this from the developers doing the bottom, that we of course have the ordinances and the suggestions, but knowing that we have them there, like the more that we can do for greenery, shrubbery, mount, whatever could be done, the minimum we would ask that, great that you met the minimum, but if you could kind of in your conceptual plan say, this is what the minimum was, here are the kind of the extra things that we've done to kind of alleviate some of our neighbors' concerns. So just a suggestion, obviously we can't make you do that, but if specifically this is what the minimum was and we've gone above and beyond that so that they know that you are going, the extra step to ease that would be great. Wonderful.
We'll let the expert come back with the
Grab
answer.
it.
It's
Yeah.
something I
Yeah.
think we can incorporate
Sure.
into the ordinance. We're interested in making sure that our neighbors are satisfied as well as the plan commission.
Any final comments while Adam's grabbing that for the petitioner while we got him up there? I want to make you stay it if you don't have to. Anything else? No.
I have one quick question, just looking at the concept plan. Behind building 8, are we looking at having a fenced in area? What does that line with the dots mean?
So that building was tagged in there. This is Curtis Reagan, by the way. That building was tagged in there for conceptual uses, maybe a daycare or some other type uses in that area. And that's basically signifying a daycare, kind of model
Nice.
conceptually in that position.
There's no fence.
Yeah.
I think that's the question is what's the line? Is it dry detention or is it a fence or is it?
That would be just like a playground.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, fence, yeah, playground fence, yeah.
Okay.
Conceptually, just for the uses that could potentially be held.
I like the sound of added childcare.
Wonderful. Any other final questions?
Are there already any signed agreements for any of these spaces?
All right.
I could not hear the answer to that. Was it a no?
Yes.
Oh, the answer is yes. Okay.
Sorry.
You're fine. Thank you. Thank you for humoring me.
Given that response, how quickly do you think you'd be coming back to us with concept plans for approval for those initial phases of development?
Might misunderstand your question. So for the initial phases up here.
Yeah.
We could come back pretty quickly, I'm sure.
Okay.
Fast as I can work.
Right.
Yeah.
I want.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, wonderful.
And you were talking about
Sure.
phase 1. Yes.
Just wherever if you've got tenants lined up and ready, just curious if you're moving, we would expect to see you again before too long.
Right.
Yeah.
Not 2 years, I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got the northern section pretty thought out. That's very close. We would put a lot of thought on that northern section, so.
Are you able to share the conception that the current proposed tenants have for any of these buildings, like what they plan to utilize them for?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never hurts to ask.
Yeah, thank you for understanding.
There's, it's set up for office warehouse, set up for any sort of use that would be applicable in that, type of space. I wish I had the answer and it was all 100% LOI'd out to you right now, and I can tell you, we've got, that's kind of where we're at with it conceptually, so.
Wonderful.
So,
All right.
so we're talking about the buffer yard to the neighbors on the south. What about the one neighbor there to the east of?
Yeah, so it's all based on zoning. So assuming they're zoning on the south side of the road and to the east of the property is R 1.0 in the county, which I think it is. A type 3 buffer yard is required. And so what they're showing on the plat is, presumably, I don't have the plat in front of me, but they're showing a 25-foot buffer yard and then the setback on top of that in addition to. So within that 25-foot wide strip, this is what they would have to provide unless a subsequent user gets some sort of variance for it. But ordinarily what you'd have to do, it is the most restrictive kind. So they have got to put in, let's see. Yeah. So 2 evergreen, 2 deciduous for every 50 feet, shrubs, plant along 50%. And then the planting shall be supplemented by one or both of the following, which is an undulating mound of a minimum of 3 feet in height, or to do a 6-foot tall fence.
All right, thank you for that, Adam. Hope that provided some additional context and clarity on what should be some nice screening, hopefully to reduce that noise and light.
So with that being said, was there any fencing planned on the east side of Area B? Or would you utilize the buffer yard landscaping?
Conceptually, there is. Let's hear for this building.
There's one residence, it looks like, on that
Entire tree line.
east side of building 8.
Yeah.
No, there's not a planned fence all the way down that. I think that'd be something addressed per phase. Or how what that one house being there. I would see it more as an eyesore being a huge fence across there, and maybe it would stick with the landscaping, in my opinion. But we're open for maybe if that residence has any issues.
Sure.
All right. Any other last questions for the petitioner? All right, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Yes, sir. Are you a member of the public or? Sure. Yeah. If there's been some additional context, if you could spell your name and where you live, that would be great, please.
9304 North County Road S. So I'm just curious, for the people who live south, if there are ever considerations for their property to be landscaped. I was looking at them, as people pull out, you've got headlights going directly in somebody's front yard. Even if you put a buffer zone there, it'd be kind of nice if I lived there. I'd be kind of thinking curtains, put up a border, something on my side of the property as people are going in and out. Just was looking at the drawing, and that'd be a consideration that I'd like. As I drive down North County Road 50, and I think of that house at the very end at the stop sign, and just about that for the people when you're adding extra access roads.
Okay, thank you. My question, I guess, would be the challenges of doing work on someone else's right of way and requiring that from the town perspective.
Yeah.
That would be from a legal perspective, there'd be some challenges. I completely empathize and understand the question. It's how does the body enforce that? Yeah. And I think that's where we try and mitigate where we can on the property as much as possible, but there's going to be some unfortunate light pollution, right? Thank you for the comment. That's well received. Appreciate it. Any other final comments? If not, I would look for, now that we've wrapped up most of the public hearing portion, I would look for a motion to approve with conditions or deny the amendment to the PUD. TA 01/2026.
Did I just hear one condition?
The prohibition of all special exemption uses. That's what I have down.
Is a traffic study required, or is that something we need to do with this? If that's something the town's going to require, I don't want to duplicate efforts, but.
What I would suggest, so real quick on the traffic study.
Yeah.
So as part of the Bodner development, as was stated, traffic study is being done actually by one of the town's engineers because we're coordinating with improvements to Madison Broadway. And so to answer your question from earlier, I feel like we might have shared that this was going to be commercial retail in focus potentially instead of industrial, but
okay.
Regardless, the focus was on the main line traffic and design of South Madison Boulevard, not necessarily specific to a development. So I would say in terms of a traffic study, if you wanted to require that as part of the next step in the process, you could. It's within your purview. And it might actually make sense to do that depending on the mix of users that are in there and what the turn lane capacity might be. So it's probably a good idea to add that as a condition if you wanted to do that. And if they're willing to do it, it doesn't have to be a full blown, detailed traffic analysis, but rather a simple document that's a few pages that explains what the traffic implications would be of the development. So I think it's a pretty good idea.
Sure. I mean, the intent is high level, right? We
Yeah.
can't know for sure what comes in, even if you say it's going to be, let's say, fast service. There's a huge difference between a McDonald's and a Chick-fil-A,
Yeah.
right? And so we
Right.
we can't get that granular at this point, but we
Yeah.
can see, does it flow? Does it flow well?
Yeah.
So agreed. Okay.
I have a question for Adam. It's just mainly out of curiosity, Adam. Looking at building 4 and 5, there are 2 handicap spots because it's 7,800 square feet. Looking at building 7, it's just a little bit more than building 8, and there's 5. But also for building 6, there's 5. What's the cutoff? Because I see over for building 2, there's only 4. So
Yeah, I would
about
say, sure. Those are at this conceptual level, really just shown for graphics that there will be ADA, but absolutely as part of the next step in the process, when you get to look at it again, is we'll make sure that they have the proper number based on the square footage of whatever is being considered. So yeah, absolutely, we'll make sure. And it, generally speaking, it has to do with the amount of parking that you're providing. A certain amount has to be ADA accessible, and it's usually like every 25 parking spaces for a larger project. So, but we'll definitely take a look at that.
Thank you, Adam.
Hey, Adam, for clarification, the installation of Wilkinson Street and then also the revamping of Industrial Drive, those are both part of this project, Area B, correct?
Actually, it'll be part of the master infrastructure for the Bodner project. So all that would be financed as part of that TIF bond. That's working its way through the process.
Thank you. It's hard to tell on the conceptual plan here because they weren't colored the same. They were kind of faded. So thank you.
So that further reinforces that the industrial drive question is, it's part of the town's purview.
Yeah, and then real quick, just on that one way or two way, ultimately that's a town council decision on what they would want to do. So
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, interrupted you. So we've got at least one condition. If you want to add the traffic study, that would be 2 conditions. I think that's all we heard, right? Are we missing anything?
Do we need to say anything about the gas station? I know they're putting, that's the one. Okay,
That would be the special
perfect.
exception.
Could I speak for just a second? This is Michael Garvey with SC Bodner. 2 things. One, we're doing a traffic study and I think it's been completed. So it would seem appropriate that it would do in tandem with the traffic study that you may require for this petition. And then secondly, I believe our recorded CC&Rs restrict or eliminate any potential for a gas station. So that's a deed restriction. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I'm pretty confident.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that may be addressed in a deed restriction where you wouldn't have to put it as a condition to the PUD.
So two good points. Agree. Let's not recreate the wheel with the study. Let's use that, build on it, foundational. We'll need to start from scratch. And then on the second piece, we may just memorialize it tonight if it's in there. Great. With this PUD amendment. So thank you.
Part of the traffic study.
No. We have. I think he said that they did their piece, but not.
Yeah, not including this.
Yeah, so I think they
okay.
just
We'll leave, so then leave it
maybe
in.
Supplement
has
to
to
the
be
existing study.
Yeah,
right.
Yep.
I'm prepared to make a motion to approve case number TA-01-2026, ordinance number 2026-3B with two conditions. One, to add the prohibition of all special exceptions, which would include gas stations, and two, require a new traffic study, of which could be updated one that SC Bodnar is using for the west side of the property.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Any conversation, discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? All right, amendment approved. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time this evening. Appreciate y'all coming out.
Exciting project.
Yes, it is. It looks like it's going to be a really high quality project. We appreciate y'all coming to town. Was this technically a positive recommendation, not an approval?
Oh, yeah.
That's correct,
Okay.
yes.
It's positive recommendation to council.
Sorry, taking your job.
Just have it.
Yep.
All right, I'll fill that out after. Let's let everybody get out of here. All right, that closes our public hearing section of the meeting this evening. Moving on, board comments. Any board comments this evening? I think we've got one. It would be, if we could request, Adam, that at the next meeting, if we could get an update on I think it was at the last meeting, we had kind of introduced the idea of the overlay on the west side of town. I know you'd sent out a few things. If we could maybe, because it was introduced publicly, where are we? Where does that sit? And if it's nowhere, that's okay. But I think it'd be good for the commission and the public to kind of get an update on the overlay on 67.
Did we want to discuss it right now, Rip, for a little bit while we're all here?
We
Sure.
can, we didn't want to do a spring anything on, the intent was not to ambush and say, let's talk about it. So if there's
Well,
comfort with it.
Yeah, let me ask Alex. So, because at the last plan commission meeting, Tyler was there. So Alex, in a nutshell, what Mr. Holland had mentioned at the last meeting is if we were to do some sort of overlay for zoning, that would be pretty much along Broadway, that would restrict out non-taxable paying property tax uses. And Fishers has an ordinance to that effect. The concern that I understand what you're trying to achieve, so I don't disagree with it whatsoever. But the challenge with it, and Tyler had alluded to this as well, is I don't know that, and I want to see what Alex's thoughts are. I don't know that you can prohibit a use based on its tax paying status, one way or the other. And so I think the greatest concern would be religious institutions, for example. They would end up getting prohibited in that. And so I don't want to go down the road of even doing an ordinance if Alex is even uncomfortable at this point. So Alex, that's the background on it. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's going to be how we frame the overlay. And, typically churches and those non-tax, those tax exempt entities might fall under institutional uses. So I think we need to look at our use matrix and our zoning classifications to see if we wanted the overlay to prohibit those types of uses, just like we would prohibit industrial use, rather than targeting, hey, if you're a tax exempt entity, you can't develop here. So I think we can get there. Let's take a look at it. Adam and Tyler and I can work on it and see what we come up with. But Adam's right. I mean, just targeting saying, hey, if you don't pay taxes, you can't develop, we're gonna likely run into some constitutional challenges there.
That's fair. Again, I think we all understand the intent. And it's you're not targeting any one specific group.
Yeah.
But that's our most valuable property.
Right.
In investment in the town's future. So
Yeah, you're exactly right, Mr. Holland. And in the same vein, we wouldn't want residential there because that's not the highest and best use and, appropriate development of that area. So I think our comprehensive plan plays into, this idea and developing an overlay as well. What's the comp plan say? What's the comp plan anticipate that use? And I think we can get there to make sure that we've got the highest and best development uses in the appropriate areas in the town, including the Broadway corridor.
Perfect. So then next step, since it's being initiated by this body, how about, we will have a plan commission meeting next month anyway. There's a few different items that'll be on there. So, Alex, how about, we'll get together offline and, come up with a draft ordinance for you all to take a look at for the next meeting.
Sure.
That'd be great.
Okay.
And then I think we'd want the town council weighing in, obviously.
Yes.
Right. On any of this. Not just weighing in, but telling us whether we're way off base. We're never off base, right? Never.
Okay.
1,000 here.
Yep, all right.
Perfect. Okay. Appreciate that, Alex. Adam, appreciate the update. And we'll look for something next month then. All right. Staff comments.
No, nothing for me unless you have questions or anything.
Well, as always, appreciate all the hard work and thought tonight went really well. Appreciate it. All right. Adjournment. I'd look for motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn at 7:59.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.